but we will see. But let's start off with the IMDb plot as usual. Seven black friends go away for the weekend, end up trapped in a cabin with a killer who has a vendetta. Will their street smarts and knowledge of horror movies help them stay alive? Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Maybe so, could be, I don't know. Alright, so let's see. A couple of things. This is a new one, so we'll try to keep this fairly spoiler free. I know lots of people have already seen it, and but we will still try to hold back as much as possible here. There is some twists and turns in it, so we'll try to save that for those who have not seen this movie yet. What else? I'm seen a lot of positive reviews for this. Lots of people like this. From what I can tell, let me see real quick if this takes me back. 6 out of 10 on IMDb, so I guess it could not too bad. Could do a little bit better. But from what I've gathered and what I've seen coming across Twitter, it seems like a lot of people liked it. And I'm gonna just go right and say that I might not have liked it as much as what I saw on Twitter, what I saw that people were saying about it. Not saying I hated it, but probably not as, I guess into it as some of those people. But let's talk about it. So, yeah, it is kind of like what they say. We get the usual kind of kill at the beginning. The beginning opening scene is a fun scene. There's two people kind of hanging out, and later you find out what their involvement with everything is. But they have some fun interaction, and till they get kind of caught up in this weird game that's going on, and with no choice but to play this game. And yeah, they're not really going to make it far, and they, in the usual horror fashion, they are the beginning sacrifice. So it's a good opening scene to kind of start, and then we kind of meet the rest of the group and the rest of the characters that are going to head off to this cabin. So, lots of familiar things going on here. Group of people, young people, heading off to a cabin, and yeah, there's going to be some deaths and killing going on. So lots of familiar stuff going on there, and this movie does take, let's see, yeah, it does a horror comedy thriller. So yeah, there's a comedy element to this movie as well. There's a pretty good dynamic here within this group, and going back and forth. Some like each other more than others. As it kind of plays off, there's the usual tension between other characters. So again, we're kind of have that usual stuff going on here. But this is another horror movie that kind of plays with what us horror fans know, and realize what is going on, and these characters are gonna try to kind of be ahead of the game, and take that as a situation. I think I've mentioned it before. As horror fans, you think that, hey, if I ever got caught in this horror-like situation, well, I'm a horror fan, so maybe I'll have a heads up on maybe someone who's not. And we see sometimes these horror movies play on this, and that's what kind of starts here, as some characters kind of know a little bit more than others, maybe about horror or horror movies or movies in general, and try to kind of use that to maybe gain an advantage here or get out of this situation. And it works for some, doesn't work for others. It does add a fun element to this movie in certain circumstances, and obviously you have a big, I guess, horror. I don't know if you want to call it stereotype or trope or whatever the appropriate term is for it, but for a long age, it's always been the black guy's the first one to go, or the black woman's the first one to go in horror movies. And as we've come along here, That isn't always the case, and some movies play on that and kind of make that as a point. And I always, one of the movies I always remember is LL Cool J, and I believe it's the Deep Blue Sea, where he's the cook, and he always thinks that, hey, he's gonna be the first black guy. He's gonna be the first to go eaten by the shark, because he's the black guy. And so we've seen this kind of play out and kind of change, as we've moved along here in time. So obviously, all the characters here are black. So who is gonna die first, and how are they gonna die? So they're all kind of in the same boat here. They're all black. So who dies, who lives? Kind of an interesting play here. But at the end of the day, it is these characters get into this cabin. They stumble upon a game, and they're forced to kind of play this game. And it is familiar. Again, we've seen other movies where characters fall into a game and are forced to play. And I think what happens here is, and again, I'm going to tread on the spoiler line here, is there's a twist, and to me, I guess I figured it out. I'm it's not, it's like, I never say that I'm the best at figuring these things out, but I'm just kind of like, oh, well, it just, and I don't know, maybe they made it obvious, maybe all you guys figured it out, those who have seen the movie, but, I don't know if they just make it fairly obvious, or it was just obvious to me, but I'm pretty sure that, that is what's going on here, and I'll just leave it at that. And then it comes along that is what is going on here. And then there's, the usual unfolding of the explanation of why everything is happening, and why them, and why the cabin, and why they're dying. And, they kind of, connect some of the dots, and, it's, the usual, there's a story behind it, and why these people have to die, and involving their past and things that happened in the past, and so forth, which was okay. And I don't know, being part of a comedy, I don't know, there might be parts that they're kind of stretching and throwing and playing around that, just to kind of throw out there, or if it was just a serious plot point, that's, the background that they're giving there, I don't know. But whatever, it was, whatever, it is, again, playing along the lines of as a horror fan, what's kind of going on. And then that there's a story behind it, and here comes the story. So it is, whatever. But again, it is, there are going to be some good deaths and so forth. There's, as this group is fighting the killers, there's some fun fight scenes, some unexpected stuff. Sometimes you think one person is going to be a good fighter, and maybe they're not, and then maybe someone who you think is going to be a bad fighter is going to stand up and put on a good fight. So yeah, it's again that back and forth between kind of playing with horror here and being a regular horror movie that we've seen a lot. And then there's going to be the reveal and the twist and so forth. And again, I kind of spotted that and was like, okay, so it was, not being a surprise, whatever. I don't know if they were really trying to hide it or not. I mean, to me, it seemed a little bit fairly obvious, but whatever. And so again, I don't want to dive too much into the twist. I will say, sadly, probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the way into the movie when we have, I'll just say, we do have at least one survivor. Okay, I have to say, there's at least two survivors here. I'll just say at the minimum two. And, again, them being black, they play on this, and they're like, well, who do we call? And I guess I kind of ruined the joke here, but who do we call, knowing that, there are now several individuals who are dead here, and, do they call the cops or do they not call the cops? what are the cops going to think when they get there, considering that they're all black. So there's a funny kind of thing that takes place with who they decide to call, and I'll leave it at that. And to me, I thought that was probably one of the. There's some good funny stuff along the way, but to me, that was the funniest thing there is. And I don't know if it was right or wrong to be laughing at that. I know they intended that. I mean, that's why they put it in there. But I thought it was a fun, kind of way to poke fun at what they were trying to poke fun at. So yeah, that was, to me, the funniest thing in the movie. And there were some other funny scenes. Like I said, the opening is very good. The back and forth between the woman and the guy there, and they're mix in between. But to me, that really stood out. So yeah, I'm gonna say that I did enjoy the movie. I definitely recommend that you see the movie. Not that I hate it. I just saw so many what I thought was like people being or like so excited about it, and I just kind of watched it. I was like, okay, it was good, but I don't know, I'm just not as excited as some of the other people seem. I don't know. But with that, I'm gonna give it 3 pools of blood. Again, definitely see it, watch it, enjoy it. Again, another one of these, I'm like these movies that we've seen more and more over the last couple of years, these kind of movies that play on the horror tropes. And before, it used to be, when you kind of look back at something like Scary Movie, and it almost seemed like it was like a super dumbed down version of, let's throw in all these movies together and make these movies that horror fans can relate to or see and spot in the movies, and just kind of poke fun at those movies. But now it's more of let's poke fun at what horror fans know, and kind of try to twist it on them, or and kind of still use some of that old stuff, but try to change it in a new way. So kind of something like what Scare Package does, and with their short films, and I can enjoy it, and it's good to be on the other side of it, and we see obviously a ton of serious horror, and slasher horror, regular horror, crazy, we've seen all kinds of things now. We have a huge mix of the types of horror that's out there right now. So but these ones that kind of throw in some comedy and kind of poke fun at things that you can be sensitive to it and be like, oh, why are they poking fun at horror? But on the other side, it leads to some good stuff and some fun times. So I enjoy it, and hopefully we will see some more of it coming down the line. So again, 3 pools of blood out of 5 for this one. And horrorgory-reviews.blogspot.com. You can find all of the reviews, written and video. We're heading into festival time here, so we'll hopefully have a bunch more reviews coming soon. I don't know if I'm going to write them or video them, but make sure you head over to the blog and at least keep track of there. With that, I also head over to Twitter or Facebook, and follow me there. And I know a lot of people are jumping off Twitter now, but whatever, it is what it is. Or as always, Facebook. Always head over to promotehorror.com and find me there as well. And then if you have any thoughts about this movie, head down to the comments section and throw that in there, or reach out to me there. I mean, lots of different ways. Even with the demise of Twitter, whatever you guys think of that. Maybe we'll make a horror movie about that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we'll move on to the next review, horror fans.